My childhood friend, Terry, was a man of insatiable appetites. Every time we were together, it was an inferno, a storm of passion that left me breathless. He looked at me like he wanted to devour me whole. Once, on an anonymous forum, I had asked, "Is this kind of passion normal?" The replies came flooding in. Normal? Girl, you hit the jackpot. And, wow, talk about getting spoiled. Then my mother began nudging me relentlessly about marriage. One afternoon, wrapped in the warmth that follows intimacy, I casually mentioned bringing Terry home to meet my parents. A slow, almost predatory smile spread across his face. "Sylvie," he said, his voice low and satisfied, "I have a girlfriend." My chest froze. My mind stuttered, unwilling to grasp his words. "She's from an old money family," he continued, almost lazily, "and they follow this ridiculous 3-year mourning period after her grandfather passed. I can't touch her. Not yet." "That's where you came in." I felt as if I'd been plunged into icy water. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. He didn't stop there. "Why the sudden interest in meeting my parents?" he asked with a careless shrug. "You always said marriage wasn't your thing. That's why I chose you for the past 3 years. Childhood friends, knew each other inside out. Perfect arrangement." He sounded cheerful, almost relieved. "The good news is, her mourning period ends tomorrow. Finally, the sun shines again. I won't need you to keep me company anymore. No guilt. No remorse." A sharp, searing pain shot through my chest. My hands curled into fists, nails biting into my palms until the skin turned white. I felt numb. My voice emerged hollow, barely my own. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ever say you had a girlfriend?" "It wasn't necessary," he said, shrugging as if our entire 3-year entanglement had been nothing more than a minor inconvenience. "We were convenient lovers, Sylvie. That's all. Nothing more." He reached out, ruffling my hair with an air of condescension disguised as tenderness. "Don't worry. I know how much you hate being the other woman. I'd never put you in that position." And he was right. The thought of being a homewrecker made my skin crawl. When I was 10, my father's affair had shattered my family. Our home became a battlefield, parents screaming venomous words at each other every day. I had always found solace in Terry's presence. He had been my anchor when the world around me crumbled. "I told my girlfriend about you from the start," he continued, as if disclosure excused betrayal. "I wouldn't sleep with someone without her knowing. I'm loyal, Sylvie. She's aware of you." He cupped my face, his dark, intense eyes boring into mine. For 3 years, I had believed in those eyes, foolishly thinking they were filled with love. Now, they reflected nothing but the truth of our empty relationship. "So, you see, Sylvie," he murmured, his tone soft, "you're not the other woman." Then he reached toward me, fingers tracing a path across my shoulder that once felt dangerously familiar. "One last time? For old time's sake." Something inside me snapped. I shoved him with all my strength, scrambled off the bed, and hit my head on the nightstand with a sickening crack. "Sylvie, are you okay?" Terry exclaimed, shooting up, reaching for me. The pain in my head was sharp, but the agony in my chest was worse. I clutched my forehead, tears choking my voice. "Stay away from me." For the first time, he paused, confusion and irritation crossing his handsome face. I pulled myself to my feet, threw on my clothes, and ran from his apartment. The apartment that had once felt like a refuge, now a place of betrayal. I returned home in a haze, my mind still reeling from the betrayal. When I opened the door, my mother sat on the sofa, poised and composed like a flawless wax figure. Her face was beautiful, but her expression held no warmth, only icy indifference. "Weren't you supposed to bring a boyfriend home for me to meet?" "Where is he?" she asked. I didn't answer. For months, she had been relentless, pressing me about marriage. Her life, and my father's, had been a battlefield of silent wars and open hostility, a toxic tug-of-war of control and revenge. Her driving force was keeping the company safe from his mistress and any illegitimate heirs. Even though I had proven myself capable and earned a solid position within the company, she wasn't satisfied. She wanted a marriage that would secure alliances, status, and power. I had once believed that Terry and I were destined, a perfect union between social equals. The Sterling and Blackwood families would have celebrated it. But that illusion had shattered. That morning, cornered by her unrelenting questions, I had claimed I had a boyfriend and promised to bring him home. She had merely given a curt nod, her approval lukewarm at best. Now, standing alone, the truth hit me. He's not my boyfriend anymore, I said, my voice calm, almost unnervingly so. She didn't flinch or question me. Instead, she handed over a stack of glossy portfolios. These are the most eligible bachelors in our circles. Families, character, appearances, they're all impeccable. Choose one you can tolerate. Exhaustion weighed me down. I didn't have the energy to argue. I flipped through the stack, picked one at random, and handed it back. This one. She glanced down at it.
Fine.
I'll make the arrangements. Dragging my body upstairs, I felt like lead. A few minutes later, Mrs. Gable, our housekeeper, knocked gently and entered with a jar of ointment. Miss Sylvie, your mother asked me to help with your forehead, she said softly. She also wanted me to tell you that time heals all wounds. Cry when you must, laugh when you can, but don't torture yourself. In this world, only power and money matter. Love is just smoke. I stared at my reflection. My face was pale, drawn, and a grotesque, swollen red bump pulsed across my forehead. I looked ridiculous, pitiful. The tears I had held back for hours finally spilled freely, streaming down my cheeks in hot, silent rivers. Cry, Sylvie, I told myself. This is the last time you cry over him. Let yesterday die with yesterday. Today is a new beginning. In the weeks that followed, I blocked Terry on every platform and immersed myself in work. It worked almost. I nearly forgot he existed. Until I received a message from his girlfriend.
She wanted to meet.
My first instinct was to refuse, but a sharp pang of guilt stopped me. Even though I had been unknowingly entangled in this twisted arrangement for 3 years, I felt responsible, as if I owed her an explanation. We met at the Serene Garden, a restaurant tucked into an elegant, traditional estate. I entered the private room and saw her. She wore a simple, elegant silk dress in muted tones, her long black hair pinned neatly with a jade pin. Her pale, delicate face had the serene beauty of a painting. Miss Sterling, she said softly, smiling. I'm Clarissa. Please have a seat. I sat across from her in silence. Growing up, I had watched my mother confront countless mistresses. Some encounters simmered with silent fury, others exploded in chaotic shouting. But this calm was alien. Clarissa poured tea and gently slid it across the table. This tea is exceptional. You should try it. I sipped mechanically. Miss Crawford, I never intended to come between you and Terry. I believed he was single. I had no idea. She waved it off, her smile composed. It's all right. Terry was honest from the beginning. I don't mind. So he had been telling the truth. They had her blessing. The absurdity of it made my stomach twist. I felt like a trapped animal, a pawn in their grotesque little game. You may not mind, but I do. I snapped, losing control for the first time. If you'd warned me 3 years ago, I would have walked away immediately. I never would have wasted my time on him. What kind of mindset allows your boyfriend to sleep with another woman? Clarissa's calm demeanor never wavered. She moved like a figure from another era, elegant and untouchable. The Crawfords have been prominent for generations. Historically, brides brought companions into marriages. You've simply been fulfilling a modern version of that role. Why should it concern you?
Her words stunned me.
Terry has needs, she continued, serene. And during my period of mourning, I could not bear to see him suffer. You were there to help him. It benefited both of you. I stared, incredulous. Could someone still think this way in the 21st century? Clarissa lowered her eyes, sipping her tea. Sylvie, Terry has spoken of you often. You grew up together. Your home was broken, yet his was warm, and you were always present. He loves you in his own way. Get to the point, I snapped, hands gripping the edge of the table. She smiled faintly, dabbing her lips. Let's make a deal. I have a heart condition and my health is fragile. I would like you to continue seeing Terry, helping him with his needs. In return, the Crawford family will support you, removing obstacles in Sterling Industries, sidelining your father's illegitimate heirs, giving you control of the company. What do you say? I jumped up, chair scraping the floor. You're insane. I stormed out, but barely made 2 steps before a strange, burning sensation rippled through me. Heat, itching, madness. It surged through my body. I whipped around, voice low and venomous. Did you drug the tea? Clarissa stayed as composed as porcelain, her voice soft and measured. Don't worry, Miss Sterling. It's an old family recipe, handed down through generations. Used in royal courts once, it won't harm you. My anger nearly choked me. I had had enough of this lunatic. I lunged for the door, only to find it locked from the outside. No matter how I twisted the handle, it would not budge. Heat crawled through my veins, a roaring tide. You psycho. Open this door, I shouted. She did not flinch, only regarded me with cool, aristocratic disdain. How dare you, she said, prim and offended. A generous mistress like me is rare. You should be grateful, yet you spit venom.
My head spun.
Hands shaking, I fumbled for my phone to call for help, but she was faster, snatching it away. Calmly, she dialed. On the first ring, Terry answered, his voice sharp and incredulous. Well, Sylvie calling me, how bold. I thought you were above this sort of drama. Weren't you the one who blocked me everywhere? What is all this about? Didn't you like what we had? Can't you just be reasonable, so we can part cleanly? We were childhood friends, after all, no need to make a scene. The drug was spreading through me, stealing my control. I dug my nails into the floor to anchor myself, afraid that any sound would turn into a pleading moan. Terry's tone shifted. He tried to reason. You want me to leave Clarissa, don't you? You want me to be yours. But that will never happen, Sylvie. She is wonderful. You'd understand if you met her. At that, Clarissa's placid mask cracked, a shy flush coloring her cheeks, tears brightening her eyes. Terry's voice slid into that sultry cadence he thought irresistible. Be a good girl, Sylvie, okay?
Stop this.
If you behave, I promise, I'll make it up to you next life. We can even swear it in church tomorrow if you insist. I felt sick to my stomach. How had I ever fallen for him? This time I was done. A flicker of something like jealousy crossed Clarissa's features, then she purred into the phone. Terry, darling, it's me. His voice softened, doting. Clarissa? What are you doing with Sylvie's phone? She glanced at me, curled on the floor, sweating and trembling, then adopted a playful tone. Miss Sterling seems to be in some trouble. She's been given a stimulant. Terry, could you come? We're at the Serene Garden. I think you're having dinner nearby. You'll be here in 5 minutes, won't you? Terry's voice surged with wounded drama. Clarissa, the moment your morning ended, I promised you everything. I love you, you don't have to test me. Clarissa laughed, light and cool. I know you love me, but a part of you still cares for her. That's fine, as long as you love me.
Hurry.
Miss Sterling looks like she can't hold on much longer. She hung up and tossed my phone onto the table, then knelt to dab my brow with a delicate handkerchief. You're sweating so much. It must be awful. Women are contradictory, aren't we? Your words say you want nothing to do with him, but your body betrays you. I closed my eyes, conserving whatever strength remained. The door was locked, my phone was gone, and I waited for a chance. Footsteps came, then the door swung open and Terry burst in. Clarissa. His gaze landed on me, collapsed on the floor, feverish and flushed. A hungry light flashed across his face. Clarissa smiled up at him, prim and perfect. Terry, you're here. He swept to her, took her face in both hands and kissed her, lost in the moment, oblivious to me.
Now.
I launched myself up, propelled by pure panic, and hurtled past them, out the door. I ran, screaming at the top of my lungs. Help! Someone's being kidnapped. Please help. The Serene Garden was eerily silent, like a graveyard. My screams for help echoed off the walls, but not a single waiter appeared. I raced down the winding corridors, heart hammering, with Terry following at a casual, almost playful pace. Careful now, Sylvie, he called, voice dripping amusement. Wouldn't want you to hurt yourself. Heat coursed through my body, unbearable. I ripped at the collar of my dress, gasping for air. Finally, a long veranda led me to the main gate, a sliver of freedom. Summoning every ounce of energy, I launched myself in a desperate sprint. But it was futile. Terry caught me just inches from escape, pinning me against the outer wall. His hot breath brushed my face. Had enough fun yet, Sylvie? You're quite the little troublemaker. There's no antidote for the Crawford family secret. I'm the only one who can help. Who else did you think could save you? I screamed, driven by rage and desperation, and kicked him hard in the chest. He toppled backward into a koi pond. Get away from me, you dog. Feed the fish. Ignoring his shouts, I yanked the heavy gate open and fled into the night. A sleek Koenigsegg was parked at the curb, the driver just about to leave. Without thinking, I vaulted over the door and landed squarely in his lap. He blinked in shock. "Well, that's an inventive way to arrive," he said, deep voice smooth and amused. Panting, I lifted my head. He was devastatingly handsome, unfairly so. A spark of wild thought struck me, fire surging through my veins. "Excuse me, sir," I asked, voice surprisingly steady. "May I kiss you?" He raised an eyebrow, a slow smile playing across his lips. "You want to kiss me and you don't even know who I am?" I answered honestly. "Not yet, but I will after I do." I threw my arms around his neck and pressed my lips to his. His mouth was soft, cool, a welcome relief, and the kiss doused the inferno consuming me. Then I saw my reflection in his dark eyes, bloodshot, sweaty, tangled hair, cloves askew, a feral, pitiful sight. The reality of it hit like ice. Clenching my jaw, I pulled back. "Sir, please, take me to a hospital." To ensure no further chaos, I grabbed his phone from the console and smashed it against my head. Blood trickled down as darkness closed in. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed. The strange, coiling heat had vanished, replaced by the dull ache that lingers after a high fever. A sharp pain made me hiss as I tried to sit up. The man in the chair beside me sprang to his feet, like a startled creature. Seeing me awake, he gently pushed me back down and tucked the blanket around me. "You're awake," he said softly. "Don't move." It was the Koenigsegg driver. In the clear hospital light, his beauty nearly short-circuited my brain. Sharp, perfect features, a messy mop of hair, tall, broad-shouldered, with a lean waist, rebellious streak in his eyes. Noticing my stare, he asked lazily, "Like what you see?" "Very much," I admitted. He chuckled, hands in pockets, raising an eyebrow. "So, you really don't know who I am?" A light bulb went off. "Of course. You're the Koenigsegg owner who saved me." He shot me a look, half exasperated, half amused. "Not even close." He poured me a glass of water, and my eyes were drawn to his hands, long, elegant, with visible veins and knuckles. I swallowed hard. "The doctor says mild concussion," he said. "You'll stay for observation tonight, but can go home tomorrow." "Thank you. You're very kind. I have a name. Jake Hale." "Jake Hale," I repeated, letting the name settle. He studied me, waiting for a reaction. When none came, his expression flickered with disappointment. I realized what had upset him.
"Oh,
"I'm so sorry about before. For kissing you without permission." His ears flushed crimson, spreading down his neck. My heart skipped. "Was that your first kiss?" He didn't answer, but his dark, soulful eyes betrayed pure, unspoken grievance. "I'm so sorry."
don't hold it against me."
"If it'll help," I started to say, "You can kiss me back," but hesitated, closing my eyes instead. "Just pretend a dog bit you." His blush vanished, replaced by a cold, stoic look. He turned his back, voice clipped. "Go to sleep. I'll stay. It's better not to be alone in the hospital." "You can leave if you need to," I offered cautiously. He whipped around, eyes flashing. "Trying to ditch me? Kiss and run? Is that how you treat the person who saved your life?" I shut my eyes and feigned sleep. A small relief washed over me. At least he wasn't asking about what had happened. I had no idea how to explain it. The next morning, Jake drove me home. I insisted he give me his bank details so I could reimburse him for the trouble. He only laughed and waved it off.
"Don't worry about it.
Consider it my good deed of the day." Then, before I could argue, he revved the engine and disappeared down the street. When I stepped inside, my mother was waiting in the living room, as calm as if nothing had happened.
"Terry called," she said.
"Did you two have a fight?" "Don't ever say his name again," I said coldly. "As far as I'm concerned, we're enemies now." She simply shrugged, uninterested in drama. "Well, that's your business. Anyway, the introduction's arranged. Mr. Hale is turning 80 next week, and every notable family will be there. You'll meet someone worthwhile then." The party came faster than I expected. The Hale estate was breathtaking, an endless garden of lanterns, pavilions, and polished corridors that made the serene garden look like a cheap roadside inn. Mother and I entered the grand hall in matching couture gowns, only to run straight into my father and his newest arm candy. Mother's expression froze over. "Pathetic old stallion," she hissed under her breath. Father heard. Predictably, the two of them exploded into yet another argument. A public one, of course. I sighed heavily and slipped away before the scene got uglier. That's when I saw him.
Terry.
Hand in hand with Clarissa. Just my luck. I turned to leave, but he caught up to me, his hand clamping down on my arm. What? Running off already? Feeling shy, sweetheart? I forced a smirk. I admire your confidence. Must be nice walking around with skin that thick. Bullets probably bounce right off. His eyes darkened. Do you have to be like this? Look, Clarissa, and I talked it over. You won't get a marriage license, but whatever she has, you'll have too. I tried to yank my arm free. Get lost, Terry. Don't touch me. Clarissa's mask of sweetness vanished. Chin lifted high, she sneered. Sylvie, you've played the innocent long enough. Don't overstep your place. In our world, you're nothing but a side piece, a pawn to be used and discarded by your betters. Know your place. I was about to snap when someone pulled me back and stepped in front of me like a human shield. Jake Hale. His expression was ice cold, his voice low and dangerous. Families like yours? My ancestor made his name crossing the so-called great families off a list, one sword stroke at a time. Looks like he missed yours. Clarissa's face went from white to red to green in seconds. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Finally, someone had shut her up. The woman spoke like she'd been raised in the 1800s, spouting nonsense about noble bloodlines. Jake's words cut through her arrogance like a blade. Terry turned on him, his face twisted in anger. What's that supposed to mean, Hale? This is between me and my girl. You've had a crush on her since school, haven't you? Still chasing after her like some lost puppy? Pathetic. A memory search turned up nothing. School? I had zero recollection of ever meeting Jake before. Jake's tone stayed calm, almost indifferent. And if I have been, Sylvie doesn't belong to you. Terry barked a laugh. She's not yours either, you glorified lapdog. You used to follow me around like a shadow. You don't get to covet what's mine. Clarissa grabbed his arm nervously. Darling, please, he's the Hale heir. Don't make a scene. Terry exhaled slowly, trying to rein in his fury. Hale, I don't want trouble. Let go of Sylvie. I just need a word with her. I have nothing to say to you. I snapped. Jake's lips curved slightly. You heard her. My fiancé isn't interested in talking. My head whipped toward him. Fiancé?
Since when?
But I wasn't stupid enough to correct him. Not in front of those two. Terry laughed, the sound dripping with mockery. Your fiancé? That's rich. If that's true, prove it.
Kiss her.
Jake looked at me, his gaze lingering on my lips before he turned away, his voice cool. I don't need to prove anything to you. Terry sneered. If you won't, it means you're lying. Still the same weakling as always, Hale, pining after her for years, and she doesn't even remember you exist. Jake's lashes trembled. His face went pale, fragile, almost breakable. Something in my chest twisted. Before I could think, I grabbed his collar, pulled him down, and pressed my lips to his. I'm sorry, I whispered against his mouth. Don't be upset. We've already kissed once. What's one more? Jake's eyes darkened, stormy and magnetic, pulling me into their depths. For a moment, I felt unmoored, as if I could be swallowed whole by the intensity radiating from him. He stood still, unblinking, and then, without warning, he took control. His hand cradled the back of my head, and he pressed his lips to mine with a fierce, almost desperate hunger. The kiss was commanding, urgent, as if the world had narrowed to the two of us alone. I was adrift in a sea he had conjured, swept along by waves I had no hope of resisting. Terry erupted, furious. You son of a Hale. Get your hands off her. Jake broke the kiss just enough to murmur, be patient. We'll finish this later. His voice was low, husky, yet calm. I barely had time to recover before he executed a flawless shoulder throw, sending Terry sprawling across the lawn in a heap. Groaning, Terry struggled to rise. Clarissa shrieked, rushing to his side. You've got to be kidding me, Terry shouted, lying on the ground, humiliated. She learned to kiss like that from me. I taught her everything. She was in my bed for 3 years. And you treat her like she's a treasure. Jake's jaw tightened. He stepped forward, but I acted first. Fueled by fury, I launched myself at Terry, unleashing a storm of slaps, punches, and kicks. You cheating, lying bastard. You're nothing but filth. If karma has a hotline, it should be calling you right now. At that moment, a deafening clap of thunder ripped through the clear sky, followed by a jagged bolt of lightning that struck Terry squarely. He went up in smoke, his hair standing on end, the faint scent of charred hair lingering in the air. His eyes rolled back, and he collapsed unconscious. The chaos drew the attention of both the Hale family and my mother. They stood at the edge of the garden, exchanging impressed glances as Jake and I instinctively reached for each other's hands. "Look at them," my mother whispered. "Already holding hands." Seems the introduction went perfectly. It hit me suddenly. Wait, so the person my mom set me up with all along was you? Jake arched a brow, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. You really didn't realize? Your mother said I was the one you picked from the files yourself. I shrank back, feeling a little foolish. I was in a terrible mood that day. I just grabbed a folder at random. I didn't even check the name. Curiosity struck again. And your family? Are you really descended from that guy? The one who wiped out the nobles? Jake laughed softly, shaking his head. You believed that? I blinked. You said it so seriously. They changed the name centuries ago. We're not technically Hales. Oh, I said, nodding, though my mind buzzed with more questions. Then what about what Terry said? About you following me in school? Jake's faint blush returned. He looked away, fidgeting with his hands. Ignore him. He got struck by lightning. Do you really think anything he says counts? It made perfect sense, and I let it go. In the months that followed, Jake and I started dating. Every day with him was a revelation. Sweet, thoughtful, and patient. He never complained even when I pulled all-nighters at the office. He'd sit beside me quietly, working on his own tasks, occasionally looking up with a soft, attentive gaze that made my heart ache. This was nothing like my past with Terry. No obsession, no manipulation, no suffocating desire. With Jake, it felt like a pure, innocent high school romance. There were no physical entanglements, but in his eyes, I could feel a love vast enough to take my breath away. It was gentle, unwavering, and entirely real. The lightning strike had left Terry paralyzed from the waist down. A friend of mine who happened to be his doctor let me in on the grim details. Not only is he paralyzed, she whispered, but he's completely incapacitated in other ways. He's finished. Perfect. For a man like him, that was a fate worse than anything he could imagine. The universe had finally delivered its own brand of justice. Clarissa had stayed by his side, and they even had a quick, private wedding. Somehow, I suspected she always preferred him this way. It explained the bizarre lengths she had gone to, manipulating the past to shove me out of his life. I didn't dwell on them for long. They were relics of a past I no longer needed. Meanwhile, I focused on reclaiming my own life and power. Working with the board, I successfully sidelined my father, removing him from all decision-making. Sterling Industries was mine now. My first order of business was sending his illegitimate children to oversee our new ventures in Africa. As my mother always said, in this world, only power and money are real. One afternoon, I found a photo album tucked away in Jake's study. It was filled with snapshots of my childhood, and suddenly, the memories came rushing back. Terry had always been the campus king, surrounded by admirers, while Jake had been in the background, awkward, shy, barely speaking. My broken home made me cling to Terry, and because of his fleeting attention, Jake often ended up quietly taking care of me. He would hand me tissues when I cried, offer clumsy words of comfort when I was ignored, all while remaining unseen in my world. Years later, I realized the boy I had never noticed had been the one who had always been there. The person who had quietly loved me through it all. Tears blurred my vision as I flipped through the album. Strong arms wrapped around me from behind. So, you found it, Jake said softly. I leaned back against him, pressing my face into his chest. Why did you love me? He held me tighter, his voice gentle, a whisper meant only for me. There's no why. I just did. I was jealous of how much you loved him, but I only wanted you to be happy. I left to go to college in the States, hoping to forget you, but when I came back, my parents were pushing me into blind dates. I can't tell you how happy I was when I found out my date was you. But then, you didn't remember me. I offered a small, guilty smile. It's not your fault. People change so much growing up and you're different now. Look at you. You're nothing like the boy I remembered. Jake leaned down, brushing a soft, lingering kiss across my lips, his eyes dancing with playfulness. So, Sylvie, are you satisfied with how I turned out? My gaze roamed over him slowly, taking in his familiar yet new presence. I hooked a finger in his tie, pulling him down onto the bed, and climbed on top. I whispered, "We'll have to see about that, won't we?" The light in his eyes flared, fierce and bright. In one smooth motion, he flipped me over, pinning me beneath him. His gaze blazed with intensity, his voice husky with emotion. "Sylvie," he breathed, "I love you." And in that moment, all the pain, all the confusion, all the lost years melted away. We were finally here, together and whole.